different though. Yeah, check it out, y'all. We've been around, y'all. We hold it down, y'all. Yeah. VELORE.
Thank you for your time. You know, spending time with us. We're up and coming platform, so you know, I appreciate it. You know, really.
Life is very hard. When you make a dollar, put it to work, invest it right, stay alert. Buy a home that stands alone, or even a car with a TV bar. But don't overdo your credit card, or you'll be in debt. You lose your financial rep, you won't be able to write a check. Go to school, go to work, don't be no fool, don't be no jerk. You're living in
And the juvenile home was a place called Go Shenanigans. So you go to like up in New York, they mention it a lot. Spofford is like a juvenile home where the younger boys under 16, when you get in trouble, you like 12, 13. If your moms can't control you, you kind of wilding out, they send you to Spofford. You done got arrested too many times and now you're out of control. You know what I mean? They send you to Spofford. So my cousin, he went to Spofford a couple of times. And then he got into trouble where it was like, it's like a young kid going upstate or up north getting a long sentence. So they gave him a longer sentence. They gave him 3 years. He went to a place called Go Shenanigans. In Go Shenanigans, he's from Brooklyn. Me and him are from Brooklyn. When you go to Go Shenanigans, you run into people from all over. You run into people from the Bronx, from Harlem, from wherever, Queens. Whoever the little bad boys are, you're going to run into them. They all go into this juvenile place. Now, matter of fact, if you ever heard Mike Tyson's story, he was in Spofford. So my cousin was in Go Shenanigans. And when he came home from Go Shenanigans, he's the one who first put me on to what they call a OJ tape. Now, a OJ tape was a cassette tape that the Harlem boys who hustle uptown, like you heard of Alpo and Rich Porter and those guys, the young boys who were making money, they were riding limousines. And they was called OJs. They called the limousines the OJs. Those was the stretch cars. So all the little boys get money and the little chicks that hang out with the little drug dealing cats and the hustlers, they will all rock these OJs. And you go to the club like Harlem World, T-Connection, and everybody, you know, they was trying to live the black Hollywood life, you know, young boys. Everybody gets in an OJ that night. They drinking some Moet, blah, blah, blah. They would play these cassettes, but these cassettes wasn't cheap. They would cost like $10. $10 was a lot of money in 1970s.
Yeah, back then, huh?
Yeah. So they would cost like $10 for this cassette. That might have been like $100 today. You know what I'm saying? $100, $150 a day. So only the cats who had a little money would be able to go buy a $10 cassette. But anyway, to make a long story short, on this $10 cassette, you would have Grandmaster Flash. You would have the Cold Crush 4, the Treacherous 3, Busy B. You would have all these guys on these OJ tapes. All it was a cassette with them hip-hopping. Rhyming, yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all. Let's get it on, y'all. We at the top, y'all. You know, just rhyming, saying their little rhymes. Creole, Melly Mel, all these guys on these tapes. Spoonie G. All the first old school cats who you heard on vinyl. A lot of them was on the tapes, and a lot of guys was on the tapes who never made it on vinyl. But this was a known scene. And my cousin introduced it to me because the kids from Harlem introduced it to him in the juvenile penitentiary. So that's how it got to me. My cousin said, yo, I'm going to put you on, man. This is dope. It's an OJ tape. he let me hear the OJ tape. He had a whole bunch of them he had got from the guys from up in the Bronx and Harlem in the juvenile center. When he brought that home to me, that was the first time that I ever heard really hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that formulation. I'm talking about these guys are rhyming constantly. I didn't know what the heck it was. I'm like, what is this? But all I knew, it was dope. You know what I mean?
Had you moving, yeah.
Yeah, it was something new, and you was naturally attracted to it. And they were rhyming over beats that I had heard before, but they were cut up different. They were chopped up on what y'all would call a loop now.
Yeah.
But it wasn't looped by a drum machine. It was cut up by a turntable.
By hand, huh?
Yeah. And it was flashing them. And all those guys cutting it up. Theodore, Charlie Chase, these guys cutting it up. And that was the first time I really heard hip-hop the way you hear it on a record today, still today looped up. And it really didn't too much change. All the way to right now, 2020. It really didn't change because you're really hearing loops. And if you're hearing even a music played, even if it's done by a drum machine now, it's still kind of done in a loop fashion, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like a repetitious beat or something like that. It wasn't a loop.
Yeah.
Like now, all the music is repetitious. Even when I hear these guys like Little Uzi, these younger guys, I listen to their beats, it still sounds like a loop. You know what I mean?
Shit, to me, coming up listening to hip hop, I thought that's how you do it. You know, you put an instrumental on and repeat it over and over and just keep rhyming until, you know, something makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So
that's actually what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's actually what it is.
Yeah.
And now, that's what you got to do, basically, is get a drum machine or get a program in a computer, get something and loop it up.
Yeah. So, you know, so your cousin put you on, he let you hear that OJ tape. And just before we leave that part, like, who distributed those tapes? Or was it like a bunch of different people?
It was in the hood distributed.
I got you.
Like one group, they selling their tapes. Mm-hmm. You come to the party, they record the party. A couple of days later, the tapes would be for sale.
I see.
There probably was other cats on the street hustling the tapes. You know, had a tape recorder and got the tapes out there. But think about it. At that time, that was a cassette tape era. Anybody could record a cassette tape. Like if I had a cassette tape, I'd give you a copy of it in no time.
Mm-hmm.
Just go buy some blank cassettes and I could double them up.
Just bootlegged it up, sell it for $5, huh?
Yeah, so they was all over. Yeah. The tapes was ending up all over the place.
So you hear your first OJ tape, you know, you get in the spirit, you know, you ready to get down, and then, you know, what's your next move after that?
Well, my step pops, he had music equipment and turntables and stuff like that. And my mom's had an old turntable. So I started messing around with the turntables. At that time, it wasn't Techniques, the 1200 you see now, or I forgot that system they got now. Everybody uses this with the computer. It wasn't that. It was a Gerard. We had Gerards. And it was like, it was a belt drive turntable. So what I used to do is just keep playing the record repetitiously over and over. And I started getting the feel of what Flash was doing. Mm-hmm. I used to play with my mother's, take some old records, 45s. Then after a while, they started having the 12-inch 33s and the 45 RPMs. And I used to loop the record over, constantly play the record over. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got the feel of it. And then later on, I got the two turntables, and I started blending the two turntables together, connecting them to the amplifier, the old style amplifiers. So I started playing around with it constantly until I got the feel of it. So I was kind of DJing. And then after that, because I used to always be doing it by myself, then I started getting the feel of MCing.
So you
that's how I got the knack for it.
So you was just recording your stuff on your own, or did you go out and do it? Or
well, at first I was making tapes on cassettes.
I see what you're saying.
We was making they like a splice tape on a cassette. You stop the cassette, you do it, you stop it, you do it. It was like a pause tape on a cassette. A lot of people used to do it. And then you keep the beat moving constantly, keep the beat going constantly over and over and over. Then I would come back and rhyme over it on another cassette. I would play one cassette and then rhyme on another cassette. You didn't need a microphone. All you had to do was talk at the cassette. Because the cassette players back then had a microphone already built in it. So it was sort of like the same recording setup you got now, but it was just done with a cassette player. If you had two cassette players, you could do it. You play one tape on a cassette, and then you put your mouth towards the other cassette and record it.
I see.
That's how I used to do it at first. And then later on, started to advance. I got better equipment. The microphones came in. Then the mixer came in. So I had the two turntables in the mixer and the microphone. And then from there, you start getting more of a professional feel of it.
Yeah. So you started off, so did you distribute your tapes, or did you?
No, I never distributed any tapes. I just listened to them myself and built up my style. And then my rhyme style was building. My flow was building because I was listening to Kumo D, Melly Mel, Spoonie G, listening to these cats. Because you had to develop some kind of foundation and you had to click some kind of style until eventually you create your own style. That was the birth of it. That was the foundation. It's something you're going to formulate from. Everybody had to formulate from somebody.
That's true.
And then develop their own style.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And then later on, I got introduced to studios.
So, and you still on a solo thing?
Yeah, well, yeah. I was doing solo stuff in my basement. My first record that I made was in 78 and 79, and I made that. That was a humble. I bumped into this guy. I was rhyming. I bumped into this guy, a white guy. He was a lawyer. He was playing a guitar by this area where I used to hang out at once in a while. It's called a promenade. And he told me, yo, I know a producer. He heard me rhyming, and he was a musician. He was playing the folk guitar, a white guy. He said, I know a producer. I was like, yeah. He said, give me your phone number. I know a producer, a professional producer. And I'm going to tell him to give you a call because I see you got some talent here. It was something new to him that he had just heard. So I was like, yeah, right. All right, here, I'll give you my number. I gave him the number, and out of nowhere, I remember it was Thanksgiving Day. I was in my crib. My mother told me some man here want to talk to you. And it was a producer named Sir Charles Matthews, a black man. He was one of the first producers back in the days. He produced a couple of records. I don't remember them off the top right now. Yeah. But there was a couple of old school, like 50 doo-wop-ish type of 60 soul records. And he was a producer. He had made a little bit of money. And he told me he wanted to hear what I got. Let's meet up. He'll put me in the studio. And fortunately, he kept his word. He was the first one to put me on vinyl under the Bellway label.
Bellway?
Bellway. I did 2 records under it, under the name of Cat Claw.
So how was that, at that time? Like, you going in the studio, was it like you sign a quick deal, or was it just like, hey, I'm just going to record it, I'm happy to be here, you can do whatever you want with it?
Well, when I did that, I was 17 years old, and I didn't sign shit.
Yeah.
I didn't sign nothing. I went right in the studio. I didn't care nothing about that. That wasn't even on my mind. Yeah. What was on my mind is this dude say he gonna put me on the record. And you know, Flash and them was on records. So it was like a miracle to me, you know what I mean? Like I'm like a young dude. I'm not even questioning that. I'm just going with the flow. Yeah. So, he brought in a couple of musicians. Wow. I didn't question nothing.
17. That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't question nothing. I had no knowledge of recording studio. Remember, this is 77.
Yeah. It was unheard of.
Hip hop is just being quite birthed. Not too many cats was on vinyl. Mm-hmm. So I just went in and recorded. It was just all having fun to me.
So what was the song? I mean, did you dropped a couple songs? What songs?
I dropped 2 songs on that label, Golden Rule and Out in the Streets.
Okay.
It's on Google and everything. Yeah. It's under the name of Cat Claw. CATCLAW.
I have to check that out.
Golden Rule and Out in the Streets.
Yeah. So
on the Bellway label, produced by Sir Charles Matthews.
So I mean, what kind of acclaim did those records get? Just in your eyes,
Oh, what it did for me really is just open me up to that there's always other possibilities in life. Mm-hmm. Beyond what you would think about. Because remember, I never thought about. It wasn't like how these guys now today, they think about, I want to record a record. I wasn't thinking about recording a record. I just ran into the lawyer. He said, I'm going to pass your number to this producer I know that I represent. And I said, all right, yeah. And like I told you, I was like, yeah, right. You talking. You know what I mean?
For that to come through, though.
Yeah. That's what that opened me up to. That understanding life.
Or maybe a show we're introducing ourselves. VELORE Double O, stone to the bone, it's not the Twilight Zone. It's our rap music, can't leave it alone. We will crush it, crush it. We will crush it. We crash, we smash, so swift we dash. We bust, we crush, we're just too much. We chill, we kill, we can get real ill. We're hard as rock, we can't be stopped. If you get in our way, we use you for a mob. Like an Amtrak train, running wild. VELORE Double O got a vicious style. Unknown to you, the demolition crew. VELORE Double O, rearranging rules. Like this or that, we're super cats. I master the beat and I write the rap. We will crush it, crush it. We will crush it, crush it. We will crush it, crush it. We will hit it. It's my kind of game. I like something new and different and not the same. It's a definite must that I have to crush. The sound's rocking down and it's in my town. Too good to be low, you have to turn the mother up. Hit the rhythm real loud and the speakers erupt. The force of the group will make you shake your butt. There's no other MC that has the touch. Now there's one more thing that I want you to catch. My name is Double O and I can bust a funky scratch.